Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have another ball review for you here. Today we got through all the Bridgestones, so now I'm going to go ahead and go off and do another under the radar brand that you might have seen from time to time. I see them at Dick's Sporting Goods. If you can tell from the title, you know what it is. This is the Uther Tour Icon. So this is a kind of a budget three-piece ball, a value tour if you will. And essentially, I've seen some good pricing on it. They come in about, they say they retail for about $40, but let's be honest, I've never seen one at that price, so it's usually around the $29.99 mark. That's what Dick's currently has them, and Golf Galaxy as well. So we're going to kind of base it around that price point. That's what I've always seen it as. So I expect it to hold up to the likes of, you know, the Q-Star Tour, your soft feel, things like that. Any budget tour ball that's in that range. Honestly, you could even compare them to some of like the Snell ball or the Vice, because even though Vice might be 35, it might be slightly above that. It is close. Most of the time when it comes to a $29.99 golf ball, what I have found is, and the Bridgestone E12 was a prime example of this, for the extra $5 you get double the golf ball. So it really is worth it. But let's see if that's the case here. Let's go ahead and dive into the design of the golf ball. So this is a three-piece golf ball. It is not urethane. It is a DuPont Surlyn iometer cover, which is really just about as cheap as the plastic gets. It's very cheap. It feels cheap. It feels plasticky. They all come with different logos on it. That's kind of the whole point of the icon, if you will. This one has a bomb on the top. This one has a clover. They have a variety of different ones that you can choose, to be kind of personable, which is really good because honestly, when we get into the logo design, it is awful. I mean, that is just bold Arial. That is as simple as it gets. It's just bold, plain font with the number underneath it, black, nothing to it, nothing special. If you look on the side there, it says Tour Icon with, if you watch my channel at all, you know I'm not going to like that alignment tool at all. That's very basic. It is at least a little bigger than some of the Bridgestones were, but still that design with the two arrows at the end, I'm just not a fan of. I think it's very difficult to line your ball up. So as far as the design of the ball, it's okay. You can definitely tell by the dimple design that it definitely is more the cheaper, I would even say two-piece, like $20, $15 golf balls is what it looks like. So hopefully the numbers will improve it there. But as far as the overall design, not off to a great start. Let's go ahead and go to the chipping and putting green. Let's see how it does there. All right, so out here on the chipping and putting green with the Uther Tour Icon. So the first thing, like I said earlier, it does have a very cheap outer layer, which does concern me as far as getting spin, but I will go ahead and say that it does have a pretty phenomenal feel. Whether you're chipping around the green or putting, the feel is really right in that balanced sweet spot, which I really have known to love from certain golf balls. Just a slight firm press to let me know whether I hit it right or not, but not a loud click, and also not too soft to where it bouncy balls and springs and I can't tell what it's going to do. It's that perfect balance of both, which is awesome. However, as far as getting spin off of the wedge around the green, good luck. Unfortunately, it just doesn't. Maybe it's the cover, but it just doesn't generate enough spin, and there's no telling which way the ball will spin. If you try to put a cut on it, I actually had the ball bounce left a lot of the time, and even if I tried to put a little bit of a left bounce on it, it ended up bouncing right. So it's really unpredictable when it comes to that. I just don't think it releases well, and honestly, there's zero spin. So if you're looking for some checkup, this ball won't be the one for you. But it did nail the feel really well. Same thing with the putter. It nailed it really well. It doesn't take a lot to get the ball to the hole, which is really good. And whether you hit it off the toe or the middle, you seem to get that really good consistency that a lot of young golfers will need. But overall, don't expect to get a lot of spin with it off the green. Now, once you get to about the 50-yard point, then it starts to spin a little bit more because you can generate that club head speed, but otherwise around the green, you're kind of out of luck. All right, so with that being said, let's dive in and get some of these numbers here. Let's start out with the 9-iron. All right, so getting into the 9-iron, we are looking at 93.9 on the ball mile per hour speed. That's actually very, very good. It's pretty high, almost the highest I've ever tested. So that's off to a great start there. 129.7 on your distance, 124 on your carry, and then 20.8. So it does launch high. It's definitely a high launching golf ball, and because of that, I got extra distance, and it had an excellent amount of ball mile per hour speed. So those numbers are fantastic. Everything looks good there. Those are all some of the highest I've tested. So let's move into the 7. Let's see how we did there. Starting with the spin, 7,246. That is a very high spinning golf ball. Holy cow. That is by far the most spin I've gotten with a 7-iron yet. Actually, it's the first to break 7,000 for me. I've had one come close, but this one actually broke 7,000, so that's a lot of spin on a 7-iron. It's definitely going to come back at you a little bit. It's going to stop on a dime. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. It just depends on whether or not you can still keep your distance, which, looking at those numbers, 107.4, that's a good number. 159. All right, so looking at the 159, actually, that's going to be a mid to high distance. It's actually not bad. I can't imagine how much distance I would have got if the spin had been a little lower, but honestly, that's a really good distance number for having that spin. 147.9 on your carry, and then 20.5 on your launch, which again, there's the key factor. That is the first time I've had a launch over 20 with a 7-iron at all. It's interesting. They basically, the 7-iron and the 9-iron basically was the same launch angle. There was more ball speed with the 7, which is why I got the increased distance. So that's interesting. So this could be tailored more toward the beginner, even though it's a 3-piece ball, just because of how high it's launching. But so far, the numbers are holding up really well. Going into the 5 hybrid, 4,282, that's a decently high amount of spin. It's not the highest I've tested, but it's a decently high number. 116.7 on your ball mile per hour speed, which actually is pretty decent. I'd say, again, mid to high, very good, very consistent. 192.1, excellent number there. 177.6. Awesome. And then a 15.9 launch, which is one of the highers. It's not the highest I've tested, but it's in that high range for sure. Yeah, so based on those numbers, we have a golf ball that's consistently launching high and consistently getting the right amount of distance, which is really good to see. I say it all the time, consistency is key, and so far this ball is very consistent. All right, and then last but not least, the big stick. This is going to be 2,942 on the RPMs, which is an average number, and then 241.4 on the distance total, which is so that's probably on the average side. Honestly, I've got some in the 238 range and some in the 245 range. 241's probably somewhere in that middle range. And then 134 on your carry, that's actually going to be again, an average number, average high actually. Okay, so we're looking at 134 on your ball mile per hour speed. That's about in that average zone. Nothing spectacular there. And then 220.8 on your carry distance, which looking at that number appears to be average to high. I would say like that average high range. And then a launch of 15.2. So again, consistently what we're getting here is a higher launch. That's actually more of a mid-high launch, but I'm a little bit favoring a high launch and essentially just getting the right amount of spin you need and the right amount of ball speed. So that's really good to see. Those numbers are very impressive, mainly because lately, especially with the Bridgestone, a lot of issues I was having was with consistency. Hitting the ball and forgiveness. Hitting the ball off the toe and losing 10, 15, yards. Hitting the ball, off the inside a little bit and all of a sudden gaining 20, just things like that. This one just seemed to be really consistent throughout, which is really good, and especially for young beginners, that's going to be perfect because it's going to allow you to accurately gauge what shot you're going to hit, just if you're not that great of a ball striker yet. So getting into the durability test here. So this is where, unfortunately, the Tour Icon did not do so well. This ball is pretty banged up. About only 50 to 60 shots on this one. And I mean, you can see scratches on the logos and on the clover leaves. And I mean, it's just pretty rough. And if you really look into the detail, you can see it actually is cut and raised up a little bit. I wouldn't trust it to get you through 18. I mean, if you're shooting in the 90s or 100s, I would say you're probably going to have to, after every 9, toss it to the side, even if you haven't lost it yet. If you're someone who's not that great and you say, well, I really don't care. I don't care if the ball, goes left or right or whatever a little bit because of the durability issues, then you can still use it. But to get 100% quality out of it, I think that after every 9, you're probably going to have to get rid of it. So overall, this is really tough. I love the numbers. Let me start there. I love the numbers. I love what it was able to do. I think that a lot of people are going to be able to use those numbers, and it's great. Unfortunately, that was about really the only thing that was great was the numbers, which honestly, if I'm looking at it from the outside in, you might say, well, Nick, aren't the numbers really the only thing that matters? Well, yes, but the problem is the golf ball market is so competitive that, again, every little thing a golf ball can do you know, an alignment tool, a design, a dimple design, something unique to really, you know, extra shiny coat on it. Anything that it can do to stand out is going to give it an edge just because it's so dense. There's so many golf balls out there, and every day it feels like they're coming out with new ones and new companies. And my problem with this one is the design is boring as heck. The alignment tool is uninspired. The durability is no bueno. But the numbers are good. So what I would like to see, you know, this company do in the future is improve some of this other stuff, really get this ball out there. And if you keep these numbers, I think it would be good. But for $29.99, I will recommend it based on, you know, you saw the numbers. If you need a consistent golf ball and you know, if you find them on sale or whatever, $29.99. But it's tough for me because there are golf balls like the Q-Star Divide that I would spend the extra $3 on, and if we're being honest, the Vice Pro, I would probably spend the extra $5 on, just because you're getting the whole package. You're getting a ball that's consistent, forgiving, soft, long, spins great, and has an awesome design on top of it. So to me, that's worth it for the extra dozen. You know, paying an extra 20 cents a golf ball will always be worth it in that regard for me, but hey, it might not be for you. So just take that with a grain of salt and, you know, go from there. Guys, as always, keep watching and keep saving and keep learning. I appreciate it as always. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do. And I don't normally ask that, but the only reason I am right now is because at this moment I'm recording, we are like 12 away from 1,000, which is just phenomenal. You know, it's a humbling experience, and if you've watched this to the end, you have no idea how much it means to me. I'm coming at you with another one soon.